Right, let's now deal with the issue that has been plaguing the minds of many people living in Gauteng. Our dams may be full, but the power cuts and heatwave are among a host of problems that have led to level 2 water restrictions being imposed on Gauteng's 3 metros. That means no water in the garden, washing the car, filling the pool. That we can handle. But at the same time, in Johannesburg, we also are having our water throttled. Many of us don't have water at all. Added to that, we've had a change in political leadership in the city of Johannesburg. An ANC-led coalition recently brought in Mayor Dada Morero, but to try and get an understanding of the heart of our water problems, let's speak to Michael Son. He, of course, is no longer Environment and Infrastructure Services MMC in Johannesburg because he was under the DA administration, but certainly has a lot of information. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining us this evening. I think the thing that we're really battling to understand is that our dams are up to like 95% full. Not only do we have level 2 water restrictions in Johannesburg and for parts of the province, but many of us have little to no water. What is the problem in your understanding?
Well, good evening, Sally. It's certainly quite interesting that many of the residents understand that we've got all this water in our dams, while all of a sudden we're going into a electricity load shedding style kind of water restriction. In fact, rainwater announced a stage 2 water restriction. Various parts of Gauteng and Joburg was heavily impacted. But the reason of that was a little bit different. There was a issue with rainwater. The Palmit and the Eichenhof system had a malfunction, if I put it that way. So that impacted on the water supply to the city of Johannesburg and other parts of the province, such as Gauteng and Ekurhuleni. And many of our residents in large parts of the city went without water for days. And this is something certainly very concerning. I received information from Joburg Water this afternoon that the matter has been resolved. They were able to adjust the operational model to ensure that the collapsed Eichenhof system is now not supporting. Therefore, the Palmit system is now fully operational. We are then able to get water from rainwater into our Johannesburg water systems. And of course, providing water to our residents in the various areas.
I just want to get a bit more detail. You said that there was a malfunction at Palmit and Eichenhof. What caused the malfunction? Was it load shedding, knock-on? Was it a burst pipe? Was it lack of infrastructure maintenance?
My belief and understanding, it was aggravated because of load shedding. Remember, the water system works differently to electricity. It's not something that you can simply switch on and off. You have to maintain a constant pressure and supply in the water system to ensure that the water flows to the various reservoirs and towers within our municipality. With electricity, it happens with a switch. And if the system works well, you have your electrons and your energy flowing through the network. Unfortunately, with water, it doesn't work with that kind of flow. So when you start to experience problems that's aggravated by load shedding, your pump stations are about to suffer. And of course, the various pump stations at Palmit and the Eichenhof then obviously take strain. And then that coupled with the other issues within the existing structures, water pipes within Johannesburg, we are inevitably going to look at a situation where we are facing now, where there's a malfunction of the system and residents then go on without water for days.
Do we have enough reservoirs and water infrastructure in Johannesburg to service our, 6 million and counting citizens?
That is an absolutely pertinent question, Sally. And I think a couple of years back, we did a research. Johannesburg welcomes 3,000 new residents into the city every month. And if you look at the number of the population growth, certainly we need to build more reservoirs, more towers. Otherwise, even though we get sufficient water from rainwater, which is not really the case, we will never be able to feed into those systems to satisfy the demands of our residents. And the other thing is that the Rand Water has also got a supply agreement with Johannesburg Water, where Joburg Water is only entitled to receive so much water. So when we exceed that supply, we ultimately get penalized, and literally there just isn't more water for us in the city of Johannesburg. So you're quite correct to say that we do need to build more new reservoirs and new towers in order to sustain the demand within the city.
To what extent is money a problem here? Is Joburg Water, I mean, you're saying that they pay for a certain amount of water, and once that's used up, actually Rand Water doesn't necessarily allow more water through. Has that happened this time? Is there any concern with Joburg Water not paying Rand Water, for example?
Well, one thing I must say that we have been very good with Joburg Water accounts to Rand Water. There hasn't really been a situation where Rand Water had to, figuratively speak, turn off our taps to Joburg Water. But we also understand that Rand Water wouldn't really go to the extent as to not to supply water, because there is a constitutional duty to provide water as a basic need. But what is very important is that, going back to your question, is money an issue? Money is always an issue to build infrastructure. But I think timing is also very important. That's why under the multi-party government of the leadership of our Mayor Mpopalatsi, we certainly invested money within this financial year to build more infrastructure, so that not just in terms of new reservoirs and new towers, but we also need to replace a lot of the aging and broken down water pipes. There's about over 12,000 kilometers of water piping within the city of Johannesburg, and just under 12,000 kilometers of sewer piping in Johannesburg. So there's a lot of pipes that we need to replace and repair. And certainly money is a big factor, and time is also a big factor. So with those two factors in mind, that you really need a determined political will to ensure that we not only maintain, but we also replace a lot of the aging infrastructure in the city of Johannesburg.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael-san. And as we've seen this week in Johannesburg and other parts of the province, load shedding is bad enough, but when water stops coming through the taps, really things get critical really, really quickly. Thank you so much for your time. Michael-san, of course, is the Outgoing Environment and Infrastructure Services MMC in Johannesburg.